Hey, oh, there's a glare in the screen. Let's see. I'm going to move around a little bit. Hold on. If I come to the other side of the table. Whoop. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, the video that I can see looks a little grainy. I hope it's not too bad when we're watching this later. I'm going to go ahead and move on with the video and say what I needed to say, but I left my drink and my notes at the other end of the table, so hold on. Okay. Plan was to have the camera facing the other way so that you guys wouldn't know that I was awake at 6:30 in the morning doing work stuff like the workaholic fool that I am. But oh well, now you can see behind me. It's 6:30 a.m. It's the 1st of October. And I was pleased it's a little chilly in my house this morning. I don't really like fall, but I like not sweating too. So that's nice for me today. Let's see. We're going to do, I have some announcements for you guys, but I want to talk about like what this is and what these videos are and why I'm doing it. We are growing as an organization. We have 3 locations. I'm about to bring on 9 or 10 new interns, and there's just so many of us working in so many different places and caring for so many different families. I feel like it's important for us to communicate on a regular basis and for you to hear from leadership on a regular basis. But the problem is that there really isn't a time during our week when we can all get together, not even in the same place, but just for like a Google Meetup or something. It's really hard for all of us. So to do that at the same time. So there's going to be a lot more videos like this where it's me talking to you about what's going on this week. We're also going to be recording our meetings from now on, and they'll be posted on our our YouTube channel. And I hope that this kind of makes us all feel a little bit more connected and informed about what's going on. So there are 2 new things in the Google Drive for you guys to be aware of. So one is your, what am I calling this? Staff announcements page. So anytime a video goes up, anytime there is a meeting, link to the video and notes are going to be posted in that folder. And you can go into our Google Drive under info at and just search staff announcements and that document will come up. Also, anytime changes are made to it, I'm going to email you guys a copy of it. So for example, right now it's got several things. I'm looking at it. There are several things in here from September, like the last Katie meeting we have, and notes from that from 9/5 are in here. And then on 9/11, I posted a training module for gap exceptions. And then we did a meeting for the class scheduling meeting. I posted notes in the video from that. And right now, the most recent thing that I put in there is there's a link to the infant hearing screening module, which, by the way, this is an announcement. If you were not able to come to the in-person training last Friday and you want to be able to do infant hearing screenings, you can go to that folder and everything you need is there to complete the training on your own time. There's a couple of videos, a test, that kind of thing. Even if you did attend the in-person training, you still need to go to this folder to get to take the test and do a couple other things. That's where you upload a copy of your certificate, that kind of thing. So that's one thing. We have the staff announcements page that you'll be updated on regularly, and that'll kind of be like the source where we hold that kind of information. It'll be accessible to everybody in our company. And then the other thing is the staff training modules. So I've been working for quite some time to have a way to post standardized trainings for you guys. We looked at all these different platforms, Schoology and Trainual and that kind of thing. And ultimately, I decided that I want to be able to own our content. So I don't want it to be kind of like vaulted and held for ransom in someone else's database. And all of our Google products, like we own, we have proprietary rights to that content. And it's also has a lot of encryption and security built into it. And the other thing about doing it this way is you don't have to have another login. So what it looks like is when you go to this folder, there are folders within the folder for each training. So the one for hearing screening training has a document that says start here. And then there's like 5 steps. So you have to do like this 2-hour NCHAM training, and then you have to read this thing and then watch this video. And then finally it's like, take this test. So I'm going to be posting more and more in there as we grow as an organization. I think it's really important that we stay true to who we are and where we started. And so communicating like this and actually standardizing is one of the ways that we can do that. And it feels honestly very strange to me to be starting to kind of standardize things. That's not something that is innate in my own personal work culture and in my own, I'd say kind of my management style or my own professional values. When I worked for a large organization with 20,000 employees, I felt very burdened by having rules and red tape and regulation that didn't really apply to my job and that were made by people who really didn't know what lactation was. I found that very, very frustrating. And so when I started Breastfeed Atlanta, I was like, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to let everyone just kind of intuitively arrive at the same conclusion that I did. And then we'll all just kind of have the same mind naturally and organically because all these people have the same values as me, and this will be fine. But what I have found is oftentimes, people feel kind of thrown to the wolves by that, and they want more engagement and more communication and more direction from me. So it's part of the reason for doing the standardization of things is to provide for the needs that have been expressed to me. And then the other part is just to make sure that our quality that we provide across the continuum of all the different programs that we have is the same, and to make sure that everybody has access to the same information to ensure that quality. So that is why we're doing it. And accessibility is one of our core values. So we have this goal of making healthcare accessible for all people, high quality healthcare accessible. And I want to maintain adherence to that goal where staff training is concerned. So that is why it's being posted in a place where you can access it anytime. And also part of the reason I chose YouTube and chose these Google products is that they're accessible from any platform. And the other cool thing about the way I'm structuring these announcements is you don't have to watch this video. You can stream it and just listen to it while you're driving or while you're doing dishes or whatever. And it'll be like I'm there with you. So much fun, right? So bear with me as I just kind of gather my thoughts. Okay, so that was kind of an explanation about what's going on with all the videos and all the training and why. And then I've got 2 other things to share with you. So the first is, I don't know what we'll call this. I would say a maternal health initiative. Last week, Mo and I went to a meeting at the Capitol. Was a study group for the MMRC. And MMRC is Maternal Mortality Review Committee. So in Georgia, we have a committee. I think they said there were 9 people on it. They are doctors, statisticians, epidemiologists, some midwives, and anytime a woman who is pregnant or who has been pregnant within a year of her death dies, this committee investigates. And they ask these, there are 6 key questions. I took notes. My notes are in my purse upstairs. And now I'm having the thought that I should probably publish those notes for you guys so that you can read it. But anyway, this committee seeks to answer these 6 essential questions about the death of the person. Among the most important of the questions they seek to answer are, was this a pregnancy-related death? And that is extremely important because that separates kind of causation from association. So sometimes, sadly, pregnant women die in car accidents. They often die at the hands of another person. Intimate partner violence is rampant in our culture and definitely in our state. So tragic as that is, it's not, those deaths are not necessarily pregnancy related. They just so happened to be pregnant, but being pregnant wasn't the reason that they died. So they separate that and they answer, was this a pregnancy related death? And the next thing that they answer is, was it preventable? I wish I had my notes with me. So a little bit of background on this committee and kind of how we got here. From 2000, the year 2000 to the year 2010, there was no maternal mortality review committee in Georgia. We just weren't tracking it, which is appalling, honestly. So in 2010, a group of people got together. That was 9 years ago, by the way. 9 years ago, keep that in mind. A group of people got together and decided to fix it following an Amnesty International report about Georgia. I think that it was about the United States in general, but they listed state by state. And at that time, Georgia was either at the bottom of the list or very low on it. So they formed this committee, which is a lengthy process, takes quite a while. They had to get funding. They had to do some legal things and start collecting data. And so they have, and they are just now reporting on 2014 or 2016 data. I can't remember, but the take home is that this is an extremely lengthy process to just get the committee formed. And then now that it is, they have processed their first year of data. It's not contemporary. So, it's 2019. They've just now released, I can't remember if it's 2014 or 2016 data, but and the reason is that there is so much investigation that happens when a person dies under the purview of this committee. They investigate, they get every piece of paperwork and record and testimony that they possibly can. So all the medical records, police records, court records, all kind of stuff. And then it's reviewed by a true committee. So, and they don't have enough funding or enough people, by the way. There are 2 nurse examiners in Georgia, and the second one is new. It was just one prior to that. So they're overwhelmed. They are doing the very best that they can, I believe. But long story short, what this committee found is that there were a lot of deaths in Georgia, and I believe they said about 60% of them were preventable. Most of them, by like a gross, ridiculous majority, were among Black, non-Hispanic women. The one that stands out in my mind the most when they were looking at this particular year and causes of death broken down by race and ethnicity, specifically with preeclampsia, there were 8 Black non-Hispanic women in Georgia that died that year of complications from preeclampsia, and there were 0 white women. I'll just let that sink in for a minute. Not a single white woman died of preeclampsia that year. 8 Black women died. It's not okay. Somebody in the room tried to bring up something about a genetic predisposition toward blood pressure and cardiovascular problems among African American women. All that means is that they need more care, that you need to start interventions sooner and you need to be paying closer attention. Does not mean it's okay that more people died in that racial or ethnic group. It's completely inexcusable. So the other thing is, if you consider that, I think Black non-Hispanic people only make up, is it 35% of our state's population, but yet they had 100% of the deaths? Like, statistically, what is the implication of that? It's absurd. If you take it into a broader perspective, it's crazy. And so Mo and I and some other people that I knew, one of our former patients, another former employee, plus a lot of other women and men, were sitting in the room, and politicians are trying to say, well, basically, it's not really that bad in Georgia. Like, this is kind of faulty data. This is kind of, you're overblowing this. And I walked out of that meeting about to lose my mind, like just so angry about it. And there were a lot of people there that were fired up and want to do something about it. And a lot of them have their place in like advocacy and policy and political action and social marketing and that kind of thing. I don't feel like that's where my strong suit is. And I don't feel that's definitely not what our organization is here for. And so when Mo and I were walking back to the car, we were like, we have to do something. So when I got back to the office, I ran this by Shoshana, and she was like, yes, I know. It's awful. I've been screaming about it for years. So it was not difficult at all to get Shoshana on board with doing something. So what we are aiming to do is to be able to provide a new mother clinic in the same way that we have newborn clinics. So we want people, anybody who walks through our door, to be able to get screening and basic treatment for anything that a woman can need postpartum. Mental health will be a huge part of it, but also treatment for hypertension and screening for all other types of postpartum complications. So we have met with a new medical director who will be the collaborating physician for Shoshana. And also Daniela Hazelwood, our family nurse practitioner, can also help fill this role. Hopefully I will have Shoshana and Daniela up and running to see and treat mothers very, very soon. It's a matter of paperwork. I don't exactly know what the program design is going to look like, but starting immediately when we have mothers who are obviously presenting with some kind of health complication, we'll be able to treat it immediately. And the same way that you can call Mo when you have a baby that you're just not sure about or that you're concerned about, you will be able to call Shoshana and Daniela about moms that you're just not sure about, that you think need extra attention and extra care. So we are doing that. We are also engaging with the Georgia Perinatal Quality Initiative. I am attending the Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies of Georgia annual conference. We are pulling in all the community partners that we can, offering ourselves and our services to programs that are already up and running. And I want to see as many women as possible get the kind of care that is recommended after a birth that they're not presently getting. So I think that's all I have to say. Well, no, that's not all I have to say about that. So, in the past week, I've been kind of taking inventory of our practices and kind of, going back to that conversation that we had the day of the meeting, like, what can we do? And there are two things that I immediately identified within our organization. One would be just an improvement, and then the other one would be like a new thing. So, one thing is, we're not collecting data on our patient's race. So, if we try to track outcomes right now based on race, we can't do it. And that's a crying shame because we have thousands of charts and probably hundreds of thousands of data points now. And we also, in our consent, they give us permission to use that information for research and education and training. But we have no way to track it by race because we haven't reported that information. And we cannot go back chart by chart and say, oh, I remember that lady was Black, that one was Asian, this woman was Hispanic, or whatever, because you're not allowed to assign people a race. You have to ask them. So that is the easiest low-hanging fruit kind of thing to fix, is that we need to start collecting information about the patient's race. So it's not mandatory yet. I think we're going to do it when we go live in Athena, but very soon I'm going to be asking you to ask every single patient what their race and ethnicity is and record it in their chart. The other thing, a very simple intervention that requires very little capital outlay and training. It's very low risk, very high impact, and high efficacy, because that is one of our other core values, is efficacy, is taking vital signs. So that is obviously not in the scope of a lactation consultant, independent of other practice or other certifications. However, it is something that can be delegated by doctors and by advanced practice nurses. And we have 3 advanced practice nurses right now who are willing to train us and delegate that. So next Wednesday, Mo is going to do a training for us, and we're engaging Mo and Shoshana to set clinical thresholds and write a policy for us. So what will happen is everybody will be trained both in the practical skills of doing vital signs and in our protocol. And then you'll start doing vitals on every single patient you see, probably every time. We'll have to see what Mo and Shoshana come up with in terms of the frequency that's required. But you'll do the vital signs, you'll document them, and then depending on what the values are, you might report it to Shoshana or Mo. And I feel really good about that. I feel like that's a really easy thing that we can do that would probably catch a lot of problems. And hopefully we can prevent mortality and morbidity by doing that while we're getting our other programs up and running. So that's the whole maternal mortality piece of it. The other thing that is going on is we have a whole class of new interns that are starting. I am so excited. We have 6 or 7, I'm not exactly sure, students from GNTC in the lactation program that are going to be with us. We also have 3 brand new interns who are not part of that program. 2 of them are nurse practitioners, interestingly. We have a pediatric nurse practitioner and a family nurse practitioner who are both seeking certification as IBCLCs. And then we also have a former patient. If any of you know Rebecca Dixon, she's going to be an intern too. All of those people start on Wednesday. I'm very, very excited about it. I've been putting a lot of time, energy, and effort into making their onboarding process highly effective in terms of getting them trained and getting everybody on the right track. It's not perfect. In life, we have to accept some imperfection. So the goal eventually is to have it where They are learning all the skills in their training sessions with me and with Audrey, who's also doing that with me, and then have them practice the skill in the clinic with you guys. You're still going to be teaching them some of the skills right now. So, but we are going to be meeting every Wednesday going forward to review new skills and also give them a place to debrief and ask questions. And we'll actually spend 90 hours with them over probably about 4 months' time. And for people that need it, you can use this as your 90 hours toward your IBCLC. You can also, if you are a staff member and you attend these trainings, I will apply for CERPs and you can get free CERPs for it. Staff members are obviously not required to attend, but it is an option for you. All of those trainings will be recorded and stored on our YouTube channel as well. The first session will be Wednesday, and we're going to go over just Breastfeed Atlanta policies and practices, how to use Acuity and how to use home base, and what our general practices are with insurance and classes and that kind of thing. It might be helpful to some of you who are newer, even if you're not an intern, to review those materials if you have questions, because I know that it can be pretty confusing. It's a lot of information. So that'll be available to everybody as a resource. And then the immediate goal with these interns is to get them up to speed with our company and being able to answer the phone, schedule appointments, and that kind of thing. And then the first goal for them in their training, the first thing I want them checked off on is doing an intake and history and weighing a baby. So way back in the day when it was just me, Heather, and Angela, the way we would run consults is Heather or Angela would do the intake and do the weight on the baby and then kind of give me a report, and we would do the consult together. And that when you're doing consults back to back by the hour, that provides you with an opportunity to step out for a second if you're a lactation consultant and kind of take a deep breath, finish your charting from the previous patient, get a snack, do whatever you need to do, and then go back in and do your consult. And then at that point, the intern can take a break if she needs to. So I would like to, as quickly as possible, make it so that our new interns can help you guys in that way. So on Wednesday morning, in the morning time, we'll be doing the Breastfeed Atlanta stuff. And then hopefully in the afternoon, I can train them on intake history and weights. And the other thing is I'm trying to keep these videos and updates all to a half hour or less each so that it's not overwhelming for you to have to listen to. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say right now. I'm really proud of the growth that we have created together. I continue to be amazed with where this organization is going and what we're doing as a group. And people talk to me all the time and say how amazed they are with what we're doing and how we're blazing a trail. And I just can't say enough good things about the people that are doing this with me, because it's way more than I could do by myself. So thank you for kind of that I've had and making it really come true. There's a lot more good stuff to come. I'm very excited, feeling very positive about the future. I hope that everybody has a great day, and thank you for listening in. Bye.